After reading some of the stories in the news today, it's become clear to me that it's going to be a long 2 years. Reports are now indicating that Obama is selling out Democrats left and right to work with Republicans. And one of the scariest ones is this, quote, President Barack Obama pressed world leaders on Monday to break stubborn logjams that have held up an agreement on a trans-Pacific trade deal that is eagerly sought by the White House and could lead to rare consensus with congressional Republicans. He said the following, quote, this has the potential for being an historic agreement. That's Obama. The person who we elected to supposedly be a progressive is cheerleading free trade deals, which in reality are just what? Outsourcing deals. Take what remains of middle-class American jobs and ship them overseas. Now, in the past, the Trans-Pacific Partnership talks hit a roadblock, and we, of course, were celebrating that here on Secular Talk. And now we learn, quote, in a joint statement following the meeting, leaders from the 12 nations involved in the trade talks said they have been encouraged by recent progress. So it's time to panic again. What people need to understand about the Trans-Pacific Partnership is it's really, really bad for America. I mean, I could sugarcoat it and I can, dance around what the reality is, but that's the reality. The TPP is basically NAFTA and GATT and the WTO on steroids and human growth hormone. It is an absolutely radical so-called free trade deal. Again, it's just an outsourcing deal for America, and it would outsource more American jobs. And here's the scariest provision that I've seen. There's a lot of provisions in there. Some of them have to do with copyright law and radically changing copyright laws to give big corporations a much bigger advantage than they already have. But the scariest provision to me in the draft that was leaked recently to WikiLeaks of the Trans-Pacific Partnership is that they're trying to make multinational corporations equal to governments in the eyes of the law overseas. So in other words, if you're a second world or third world nation and your leaders are selling to you this idea that you're going to get jobs as a result of this, what they don't tell you is that when those jobs set up shop in your countries, let's say there's a dispute over environmental regulations. Corporations are now equal to the government. So if your government passes a law that says, hey man, you guys are leaking this toxic chemical into our rivers, and our kids are getting sick, and I'm losing my hair, and there's all these problems associated with it because it's a toxic chemical in our rivers. That's our water supply. We need that. Of course, it used to be under the standard model of relationships between corporations and governments. The government, of course, has authority over the corporations. A corporation is a fictional legal entity. The state represents the people, at least in theory. So the idea is if the government passes a regulation, well, of course the corporations have to abide by it. Just like if they pass a law that says you can't murder somebody, of course the people have to abide by that, and the corporations and everybody within the country. Well, not anymore. Under this deal, the idea would be, well, you get to challenge it whenever you want, every time, because you're on equal legal footing with the government. So a corporation can say, yeah, we just disagree with any regulation you want to give us, whether it's environmental regulations, whether it's minimum wage, whether it's labor regulations to make sure that children aren't working in factories for 32 cents on the dollar or whatever it is. They can say, no, we disagree, and we're going to take you to court. And what happens in many cases with stuff like this? Well, these multinational corporations are basically little fascist tyrannies with a tremendous amount of money. I mean, they could probably destroy second world and third world countries through their legal processes. I mean, if you have, judges being bought left and right, of course they're going to rule in favor of the corporations. Now, I know we're going a long way down the road here, and there's a lot of speculation, and if this happens, then this will happen, so on and so forth. But the bottom line is, the groundwork is laid for a system like that. Is that really what we want? And again, not only is it bad for people in other countries, it's horrible for America. I mean, we lost all of our manufacturing base, all of our factory jobs, jobs that used to pay a middle-class wage and give people benefits and give people security. Now they're all gone. I mean, the union movement in the United States is already destroyed, and this would destroy it even further. And we have a so-called liberal Democrat president who wants to go down this road and wants to work with Republicans. And the only people that were blocking him The Senate Democrats and the congressional Democrats, when they could, well, now they've been silenced because of this last election. Oh, it's getting ugly, man. It's getting ugly out there. If this passes, and I fear it might, you think this country's been in bad shape post-1980? And we have. It's going to get a lot worse.